Time after time, and in a lot of ways, they're as close to a Big Ten team. Physical as the day is long. It was a fist fight tonight, and probably a hard game to officiate. And it was sometimes a hard game to play. I thought again, what I'm most pleased about is we played the hardest that we've played in a while. That's encouraging. You know, guys are diving on the floor. Guys were all over the place. We had our moments, though, when we played hard enough but not smart enough, you know, with the game on the line and 10-point lead, and we're 30 seconds on the clock, 2.5 minutes in the game, and we're making plays and drop back, behind the back passes, and, you know, those things. We're just not doing a good enough job. But I thought Cash's starting was, you know, pretty good. I thought he struggled defensively the first half. I thought he was very good the second. Nick playing more minutes. It's got its goods and bads. And, you know, he just, there were times he was great, and there were times that there's a big drop, and that's what we got to start getting better. But to credit him and Dwayne Stevens and Austin Thornton a little bit, the kid has lived on the free throw line. Even his misses look pretty good other than one today. And he kind of got what he deserved, which is the way life is, I guess. He spent days on that free throw line and even made 16 in a row the other day, which is a North American record. And you know, that helped us win the game tonight. Surprised a couple of my other guys that are missing free throws. But we'll get that straightened out, hopefully. You know, Aaron Harris bounced back, played a little better. I thought Josh Langford struggled a little bit. But, you know, that's going to happen when you're starting freshmen. A couple are going to be up, a couple are going to be down. I thought we got a lot out of Matt Van Dyke. He got, I don't know how many offensive boards, 5, 7 rebounds at his size. Was incredible. And as I said, all in all, other than McQuaid not shooting real well, I thought we defended them pretty well. We did a lot of good things, and the turnovers, both teams didn't do a very good job of that. They had 21, we had 18. But all in all, it was a good comeback win for us after a disappointing loss. So questions and get you out of here for Christmas.
Tom, what was the thought process in starting Nick Ward and Cassius Winston and Langford?
Well, you know, I looked at some things, and as I talked to Tom about it especially, you know, if you remember back, it was just 2 years ago, that we started Tom instead of Travis Trice and brought him off the bench. And sometimes rotations make a difference. Sometimes you get guys coming. Some guys are more comfortable coming off the bench. We thought Kyle Arns just was not comfortable starting. And I laugh because when I sit in a meeting and a player will look at me that way, and I can tell by the look in his eyes, and I'm just saying, God, I'd have gave my right arm, left arm, I'd have been Venus de Milo, you know, and to start. But that's not the way it is for everybody. And so I think we found out a couple of things that'll benefit us. You know, I don't know what the MVD. I'd like to get Kenny Goins. That's still my last guy to get, you know, going a little bit. I thought he was okay, but he's got so much more to give. And he did get 8 rebounds tonight, and that was encouraging. But he's a better player. So, you know, whether we bring him off the bench or start him, I don't know. As Nick is more comfortable playing more minutes, you know, if we can get him into the 20s like that instead of into the teens, that makes a difference on what I do too. So I don't know what the brain thought was. I was upset, didn't like the way guys played, and challenged them. And one thing I'm starting to learn is they don't like it, but they're starting to learn how to get up off the mat and be challenged and respond. And that is critical, especially for a young team.
Coach, following up on that lineup change, it did seem to light a fire. There was energy and confidence, particularly the second half between the under 8 and the under 4. And Matt Van Dyke was a big part of that. He sprawls for the rebound. He gets the Matt McQuaid 3. His insertion in the starting lineup, the energy he brought, What would you have to say about that and what might happen going forward?
I thought McQuaid, he started before, so it wasn't as big of a deal, but I thought him and Van Dyke did bring some energy, and yet I thought Elvin Ellis coming off the bench brought a lot of energy too, and he was better. So I don't know, I don't know who I'm going to start next week. Unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be. I might just leave it up to the practices. I don't like doing that, but, we have so many guys that are trying to find themselves. And some guys found themselves tonight. That team had been holding people to 36%, 30-some from the three. We shot 48 and 44. We out-rebounded them by a few. That's not real exciting for me when you only out-rebound somebody by a few, but we did do a better job in some areas. Turnovers weren't very good, and we'll work on that, but yeah, I thought there was some energy. I thought the crowd was awesome. Christmas crowd, and they got into the game, but we gave them a reason to get into the game. When you make baskets, they get excited. When they appreciate people diving on the floor. Everybody knows we're not as talented right now, and we're working on it, but we took a step in the right direction, and we'll move from there.
Tom, Jalen Hayes for them, I think only played 12 minutes, and a guy they go through down. How much did that impact the game? And then secondly, if you had seen that games were going to have 54 fouls in 40 minutes, would you have ever taken up the sport of basketball?
No. No. How's that for a good answer? Jalen, if you think I'm going to feel sorry for anybody with what's happened to us this year, he's there as a body. I don't even have the body sometimes, so I'm not going to do that. But I have great respect for that kid. He goes out and hits a three. I think he's hit one all year or something too, and I know the game's important to him. I know he was very well coached in high school. Carleton, when I look at how Carleton's guys have done as they moved on, there's a guy that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's done an unbelievable job with so many different kinds of players. And, I told Jalen after, I'm proud of him, but they made some stupid fouls, and so did we. And then there were some bizarre fouls. And, they say it was a hard game to officiate, it was a hard game to coach, and probably a hard game to write about. But I much rather like hard games that you win by 12 than when you lose by a couple. So I'm going to just take this and get to spend 2 days at Christmas.
Tom, you talked about the Northeastern game. You guys were up by 7 there and weren't able to expand upon it. What gave you guys the opportunity to do that today? Well,
again today we were up 10 and we come down and one Elvin Ellis, sometimes I sit there and I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience, Things don't make sense. Cassius comes down in time, and he's the smartest player I got. And, we made 2 turnovers. They hit a 3 and a 2, and I think 11-point lead went down to 6. And that is what we do too much of. So we're getting to practice more. We're getting to look at film more. We're going to grind on this. We're coming back and getting 3 or 4 practices in before we leave on this nice Christmas Big Ten game on the 27th, which I think is a shame. But I voiced my opinion on that, and we do a lot of things for the student athletes, probably too many things, and yet there's some things that should be done. That would be one of them.
Tom, you talked about how hard they played tonight, maybe as hard as they played in a little bit. Would you attribute that? I don't know if you would attribute that just to the change in the lineup.
No,
or what
no,
would
no.
you say was probably the difference tonight, let's say Sunday when
yeah.
they didn't have?
Sunday, I don't know if any of you got the chance to watch that game last night, but, on Sunday, the one guy, Murphy, he only didn't play last night. He played about 5 minutes in that game. And, the white kid that hit the 2 threes late, I can't remember his name, but he was shooting 18%. They made some shots. They made some plays. I mean, that's what's bad about this game. You know, we didn't play as bad, if you look at our stats, as you'd think on Sunday. We made some, I hate to use the word stupid mistakes, but that's what they were, that cost us. I don't think it had anything to do with the lineup change. I think it has something to do with the more practice time we're getting. I think my strength coach has done a good job. You know, we don't want to beat them up with their legs, so we've been in the bike, we've been in the pool. We're just trying to get back into the shape we were in before that trip, and I think that attributed to a lot. Plus, I think, you know, they're getting challenged by us. But I think, as some people say, their DNA had to be checked today, you know. You see what you're made of and what you're all about. And your back's against the wall. I do like the fact that they are responding. I don't like the fact that they can't sustain the response. But we're taking some steps. That was a good basketball team we played. It could be another team that's in the NCAA tournament. And, I mean, we're reeling a little bit. I mean, there's no secrets. But we took a step in the right direction today.
Tom, I'd like to ask you about one particular play that I thought was telling tonight.
Go right ahead.
Heading to the under-16 timeout in the second half, Nick Ward comes down and played textbook defense the way we watched you work with him in practice. The guy still scored, but he hustles down the court. First guy down the court with a chance for a layup, gets fouled, and we went to the under-16 timeout. Is that really, to you, I watched you go over and smack him on the can, is that the play to see him play good defense, yet hustle and get back and be the first guy down?
Yeah, Nick is he's an enigma. You know, his mom and dad are here tonight. I just talked to him for a little bit. He just never was able to do the things he's able to do now, and he's just starting to figure out what he can do. And he can run, and he can run hard, and he can jump. And, you know, we had a couple other layups I think he could have had early, and he lost the ball, you know, and, you know, a couple more free throws. I mean, it's a 30-point night, you know, and he wasn't great, but he's getting better. And that's the one thing I tell our entire team. Nick does drive me certifiably insane at times. But what I love about the kid is he's getting better. And so it's maybe 3 steps forward and a step back. It might be 4 steps forward and 2 back. It might be some days it's 1 forward and 1 back. But at the end of each day, I see him making progress. And so it's kind of fun. You know, I know the game's important to him. And what we went into this game with tonight is said, we got to get tougher. Elvin Ellis gave us a little more toughness. Matt McQuaid, Matt Van Dyke, and of course, Nick Ward. We still got some other guys that Santa's got to bring something. Hell with those toys, computers, cell phones. Got to bring some real stuff. So we'll see if he does.
I was going to ask you, we talked about the guys moving into the rotation. How do you feel that the guys you put down coming off the bench, they give the kind of energy you wanted? Or?
Well, I thought Aaron responded very well. You know, Tom struggled a little bit. And, you know, he's got to find himself. And trust me on this, there's no quarterback controversy. He was the first one to bring it up about he took Travis's spot. I mean, he understands, he knows. But, again, one of the problems is when Tom was in there, a couple times I had some weird lineups in. And if I have guys that can't score with Tom, then he looks worse. So that's kind of still what we have to figure out as a staff, and DJ and I got to sit down and see if we can ever get a little rotation down. But as we get, you know, a little bit better understanding, I think these guys will grow from this night a little bit to at least understand how you got to compete, and then we'll move forward.
Just to backtrack to Nick for a second, we talk about the good and the bad. You know, I guess just in terms of his productivity, just what he does points-wise, shot attempts-wise. What is the gap right now between you have to leave him on the floor and go with the bad because the good is so good? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, don't be fooled by there's some players in the NBA that score a lot of points and their teams never win. You know, you do have to play both ends. But I think the biggest thing Nick's had to go through is the conditioning part. And like I said, part of it was the loss of all that weight, learning how to play. Part of it was all the travel we had and him never getting to work out. So, I mean, part of it isn't his fault. But if we're going to be a good team, we can't say, "Oh, be good on this end." Remember the night he had a flu on one end, and he was $1 million man on the other. At Dam Arena. Remember when it was cold on that one end? You guys remember that day? He's learning. If you watched him that last 5 minutes when we sat him for a while and said, he went out there and guarded like a big-time player. Nick's got quick feet. He just got to stay focused on what he's got to do and realize that he's got a new body, which we all would like to have, but it takes some time to readjust to it. And if that's not on his mind every day, going harder, doing this, doing that, that's not going to work. So I don't want to dampen anything because I love the progress he's making, but there's a reason he never played 25 minutes most games. It wasn't his play always. It was, what else he can do and whether he could sustain that long. Right?
Tom, Greg was saying, 7-8 years ago, games like this were something that he was, not that he's not proud to compete well, but he said he doesn't want to be, Oakland doesn't want to be looked at as a story, and these are games that they want to win. How close are they? I mean, you've played them, you mentioned, the familiarity with the programs. How close are they?
Well, I think that where that team had taken a big step and didn't show tonight was they've been a much, 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 much better defensive team. They take chances, okay, and because they have length. They turned us over 18 times, but we also got some shots because of it. And, I don't know what his team's like, but I think they're real close. I think it's just going to come down to they got enough guys that can shoot it. They got enough guys that can handle the ball. They've got decent size inside. The kid that impressed me hasn't been playing, the Hill Mays kid. I mean, he was a horse in there. And so I thought he did a pretty good job. I think they're very close. Last year it was an overtime game. They've taken a lot of teams right to the wire. Pittsburgh, you got to win sometime, you say, but I have great respect. I love Greg. I love the way he coaches. I love his energy at the end. We should have tag team. They should have put one of them octagons in there, and we could all gone at it. It would have been cool. So I appreciate that about him, and I think they're very close. I just, we've been a pretty good program. I mean, we're not the same caliber right now, but that's probably the next step, He's having trouble beating Michigan State. I don't know if he's beaten Michigan or Ohio State. I know he's been close on some of those games, too, when they played. We've had a hard time beating Duke. I understand his frustration at times, but they're knocking on the door. I mean, they're competing, and they're right there. So I think a lot of good things for Oakland basketball.
Quick two-parter. You're saying it's a shame that the game is the 27th, too close to Christmas?
Yeah.
And Miles Bridges update?
You saw him tonight. We put the boot back on him just because my trainer was afraid that somebody come over and step on his foot or something. Seriously, And the way that game went, you never know. I wish I had a boot on some of my players that were playing. It was a physical game. But he's, I think Monday they'll check him out again, and he's making progress, but it's very slow yet. We're getting him in the pool running. We got him running on a elliptical like thing, starting to put some weight on it, and it's feeling decent. So your guess is as good as mine. But I know one thing: Santa doesn't have to stop at my house. He can go to Miles and give him a fix, and I'll be perfect. Well, let me close by saying that. I know especially in the Spartan Nation, there's a lot of concerns when the season started in September. I hoped to be 10-3. Looking at the schedule, who you can beat, who you can't beat, who you should beat, who you shouldn't beat. I mean, coaches do that just like fans do. I got my +1, which was 12-1. I got my -1, which was 9-4. And we're one off that. But when I did that, we had Gavin, and we had Ben, and we had Miles. So I think I don't feel very good about where we are, but I wouldn't get too nervous out there because this team is getting better and they're starting to compete. They're starting to learn what to do, and we're going to get better. We're going to dedicate this Christmas time. I wish we had a little more time. Normally we have a lot of days during Christmas, but we won't. But we're going to get better. And, we're missing that guy that was 35 minutes a game and 17 and 10. So I think that's going to help us. We will get him back. Exactly when, I don't know, but we are going to get him back. And then these guys can go back to playing their roles. I told some of our media that was there the other day, there's Batman, there's Robin, there's the butler, there's the guy downtown, we got all those guys, and some of these guys have had to move up 2 notches, and that's sometimes difficult. And so disappointed that we're not at least 10-3. Considering what we've been through, I take my hat off to my guys and figure that they just got to hang in there around Christmas now, because when we get back, we're going to be able to go at it, and we're going to get better. And I hope each and every one of you have a great holiday and to whatever you celebrate. And, it's the time of year when hopefully you get to spend some time with your families. And some of you that young kids, do a hell of a job Christmas morning. Those days are over for me. But for those that have those days, cherish them, have fun. See ya on Monday.